I think it's time we remove Gene from the text thread.
You can't respond, it only feeds the beast.
Speaking of beasts.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This will be my full Rick and Morty Season 8, Episode 2 video. There are a whole bunch of Easter eggs and references, so we'll break it all down. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the episodes. Always happy to see Birdperson come back on the show. Also realize that I don't have any Birdperson t-shirts, so Adult Swim, send me some Birdperson t-shirts. The episode title was Valkyrick, which is a reference to the Tom Cruise movie Valkyrie, which was a World War II movie about the Allied plan to assassinate Hitler and take advantage of Operation Valkyrie, which was the Germans' Nazi plan to keep control of the government in case of a complete breakdown during World War II because of things with the Allied forces. In the context of the episode, Space Beth and Rick slot into that subplot when they go against the Gromphamites, who's trying to take over the government with the super soldiers, and the other Gromphamites ally with them to be the ones to actually take over the government. With them being depicted like space Nazis, more World War II references. Also a lot of Star Wars, Stormtroopers, Empire references too, which is kind of the way they've done the Gromphamites in the past, the galactic government. During the cold open, they have their Galactic Defiance meeting. It's basically a Star Wars Rebellion parody. Make it seem more like the initial meeting during Return of the Jedi to plan the assault on the second Death Star. Many Bothans died to plan this Queen's assassination. We find out that Space Beth has been working with the rebels for a while and is one of their lead operatives going to assassinate the Gromphomite Queen, not waiting for all the bureaucracy. Like, this is a bit of a Dan Harmon joke. He's joked about this in the past with Adult Swim in real life. The wheels of bureaucracy turn very slowly. Space Beth has no time for your meetings. Their queen looks more like a parody of Queen Elizabeth, who actually did die in real life back in 2022, may she rest in peace, which would have been before they wrote and started animating this episode. The Corsica droid looks like an L337 parody from Solo: A Star Wars Story. There's a female Squanchy. They also implied that Rick also used to work with the Rebels too for a little while, and had a relationship with one of them as well. Makes sense, Rick screws pretty much anything that moves, which he also does during the new version of the intro in the new scenes. As they go around the room and show you more of the rebels, one of them is a Gromphomite. When we see Space Beth attacking the Queen's ship, her hand reattaches to itself. She uses her body parts as weapons the same way that Rick does. There's a lot of smaller bits within bits, like jokes on jokes on jokes, and more casual jokes too in this episode. Like, they really packed it in. Like, there's a joke about email security, 3-factor authentication. That just feels like a joke about really bad email security. Like, logging into some of my email accounts is actually a big problem.
Who has the patience for 3-factor authentication?
And even though she's supposed to be a total badass, Space Beth finds another bug creature who we find out was actually an inside job, killed the Queen with a headshot, then was killed himself. Or so it seems, like I said, because it winds up being the former Doctor trying to take over the government with his super soldier regime. Much to her chagrin, she winds up getting trapped and needs to call Rick for help. I think they just want to tease the idea that she's on bad terms with him more recently, but that's kind of been the vibe between them every time they're all together with the family. Like, she does love him, but she kind of can't stand him. They wind up using this to connect with the Birdperson and his daughter's storyline too, which was kind of the vibe the last time they were on the show. Like, they bring them back after a long while. The idea was the last time we saw Birdperson, there was this big storyline with his daughter and him trying to actually be a good father, which they reference later when Rick reunites with him and his daughter comes along for Daddy-Daughter Day as they're assaulting the super soldiers. Notice on her phone, they seemingly pay off a long-running fan theory that Space Beth is the original Beth because she is Beth number 1, and Rick has her in his phone also as Beth number 1, even though there's a separate line about this later in the episode where they try to play it off like she could be the other Beth, like she could be the second Clone Beth. I think the reason for these conflicting Easter eggs were like, one seemingly confirms that she is the original Beth, but then later in the episode, she says that she hopes that she's the clone Beth, is just because they want fans to continue wondering about it. Like, they don't want to answer it definitively, officially. But I think just the way they play it later in the episode, where she says that she hopes that she is the clone, is an actual confirmation that she is really the original Beth. Like, the more disappointing outcome to her is the actual reality. Bagan, Casal, her neighbor Douglug all just seem like a combination of other members on the Rebel Council, casual acquaintances. Corsica, like I said, was the robot in that planning meeting. Notice she also sees Dr. Wong, the therapist. This makes it seem like she sees Dr. Wong on her own, separate from the family. Rick's picture on her phone also looks like a Season 1 style animation, just with the way his face is. We finally get the new Season 8 intro, time to see which of these scenes wind up being real and actual episodes this season and which ones wind up being fake. It's not always the same amount, sometimes more of them appear in actual episodes each season than in other seasons. Just doing the new scenes like the new footage, Beth, Space Beth, Rick, and Morty have combined into two giant hands competing with each other in what seems like a joke on realistic thumb wrestling, like the Beths are the actual thumbs and are wrestling. Then the family get turned into goats, and a couple of Jerrys from another dimension are shrunken down in the wall for some reason like mice and have to save them. This reminds me of the Jerry Boree daycare. Then in the next one, Morty is a crew member on a luxury space liner, and he's attacking a Rick who's dressed like a rich owner, but as if he's a spoiled little kid. Then there's a super spicy scene of Rick and Mr. Nimbus getting it on in his undersea palace. Rick also has gills, but they've revealed in previous seasons that they did have a relationship together at one point, and that was part of the drama between the characters, why they were so at odds with each other, because they had been so close in the past. Basically the idea that Rick is a sexual omnivore, like he just gets it on with literally anything that moves, even non-human stuff. Then the family gets trapped in a giant Tetris game. Space Beth is also here too. She's the orange block with the scar across the eye. I think the fact that she's underneath the other Beth is another joke about their weird relationship. Then they pick back up in the present day of the episode, and Rick's back in one of the restaurant sub-levels of his garage lab. We've actually seen these in previous seasons. There are many, many different sub-levels with different rooms on each level. The cook says he's one of the highest-rated restaurants in the sub-basement, with them mentioning a couple others, meaning that there are several other levels with several other restaurants all competing with each other for Rick's business. I love the idea that there's this giant shopping mall worth of restaurants in different levels, and it's just Rick. He's like the only person that patronizes all these places. Luigi's just sounds like a stock Italian restaurant on one of the other levels. Rick then also confirms the Beth clone theory, as he has her listed as Beth number 1 in his phone. His joke about her pitching a Hulu original feels like a Dan Harmon joke in real life. He's actually done a bunch of other adult animated series with Hulu, other networks that have nothing to do with Rick and Morty, and former Rick and Morty writers have gone on to do their own Hulu adult animated series, so this actually also might be a Solar Opposites reference. Fun fact too, Justin Roiland also did one of the voices for that series until both that series and Rick and Morty wound up firing him a couple years ago. Notice she's also got a medical robot that stitches her up while she's busy hiding from the Glorfalmites. The reference B in the window of the ship also confirms that it's just a joke about a restaurant grades. Health inspectors in most countries grade restaurants that they imply that their ship has a lower grade because it has a rat infestation. Duly noted, do not eat anything on the Queen ship, although a B isn't that bad of a health grade. Rick portals in to help her, still eating the lava cake that he just mentioned, like, I just ordered it, can't stop. He reveals he has a quicksand gun, bonus points for creativity, he's got a brown portal gun and a diarrhea gun, which are two completely separate things, also with a very complicated bit within a bit about the sign misleading enemies with one of the sides when he fires it on people. Personally, I would rather take the quicksand than the diarrhea gun. Do not fire the diarrhea gun. Probably smells terrible. Also, where does it get all the diarrhea from? Rick takes her back to the Rebels and implies that he had a relationship with Bug Ann at some point and used to work with them until he quit. They reveal it was the Queen's birthday. She calls their army Sting Troopers because they're bugs with stingers, but also a Star Wars Stormtrooper reference. They make a bunch of Nepo baby jokes because they want this whole episode to be themed on daddy, daughter, and he used to be a big member, like really big on the Rebels team.
This is the opposite of a Nepo baby.
Winds up getting her fired, setting off the actual plot of the episode where they go off together to discover what really happened to the Queen with the super soldiers and solve that problem. The insect supremacist is just a white supremacist reference because space Nazis' connection with the Glorfalmites. The other bit here is that he's supposed to hate mammals, but he loves watching human soaps or human trashy dramas, like he loves human TV. There's a larger bit about the logic of insect politics, then the portal gun joke feels like a Loki Doctor Strange reference, like he's been falling for 30 minutes. They reveal Fantabulous is the former royal doctor who orchestrated the hit on the real Queen and created the super soldier serum, trying to take over his race and turn them into evolved super soldiers so they can conquer the universe. There's a bunch of jokes here about Ghostbusters and Slimer working with the Ghostbusters. That feels like a reference more to the Ghostbusters cartoon, where that was a bit more of a thing. Shout out to anybody that actually watched the Ghostbusters cartoons. There were a couple competing Ghostbuster cartoons, which is why one of them was called The Real Ghostbusters back in the day. Obviously, the Super Soldier Serum is a Captain America Marvel reference. This one is airborne. The other soldiers inhaling it, turning into a bunch of different ones. They have that a couple times later in the episode too, where they keep inhaling it or attacking others, turning them into super soldiers as well. Rick uses the term Jesus Christ as a reaction, but remember, he is an atheist, so he doesn't really believe in gods, even though technically they did introduce God as an actual character inside the Rick and Morty universe, and Jesus Christ is also a completely separate character inside the Rick and Morty universe, so he could just be referencing that version of Jesus Christ. When he says a highly evolved symbiote taking over the universe, that feels like a Venom reference. A lot of Marvel references going around this episode. The planet named after dirt is obviously Earth. Then the way the Doctor explains it, he created the Super Soldier Serum to save the Gronflemite race because it's been wasting away for generations. Rick makes references to millennials killing Blockbuster Video because of streaming, like Netflix. He reveals he killed the Queen because she refused to distribute his serum and replaced her with a robot queen, which fooled the rebels, which is why Space Beth got fired. Claiming he's going to turn all Gronflemites into super soldiers during the Queen's birthday celebration. Starts calling his super soldier bugs Ultramaflites, and Gronflemites apparently love their coffee breaks. Beth's energy gauntlets here feel kind of like a Halo reference. They reveal the Gronflemites have a DMV. Then Rick launches into this larger bit about the Cisco character that they pay off during the post-credit scene, but the way they pay off the heist here with his plan going off the rails and having to improvise and it just proceeding while they're arguing in the background in voiceover while they're ordering takeout food together feels a little bit like an Ocean's 11 kind of reference where they're talking about their plan to rob the casino while they're actually robbing the casino later in the timeline. Also, when Rick starts talking about Cisco and mentions the Defiance, it feels like a Star Trek Deep Space Nine reference, so maybe there's some Star Trek Deep Space Nine fans on the writers' team.
We've had a year to prepare the station for a Dominion attack.
But obviously the whole joke here is just their bit going to complete crap with them trying to improvise along the way. Notice he references Birdperson again during this too, claiming that Cisco is one of his most trusted friends next to Birdperson, which they then pay off a little bit later when they bring Birdperson and his daughter back. Space Beth gets infected with the Super Soldier Serum. Her getting sick in a jumping species feels kind of like a bird flu reference. Like, oh no, it's jumping species. They make a Final Boss reference. Final Boss form is a very, very old video game joke. Like, it's been around for a long time. They pay off the unlikely allies bit from earlier when this Gronflemite suggests they form a temporary alliance, and Rick also calls out the bit from earlier too. He calls out tropes all the time in episodes. Like, it's a very, very regular thing. Space Beth starts turning into a Gronflemite, claiming that she can sense the hive mind calling to her like the other Gronflemites. They kill a ton of test subjects, making a bunch of ethics jokes to try and find a cure. Rick then gives himself the serum and changes into a bug like Space Beth in order to test the antidote with all kinds of jokes about loving boob milk. Sounds like he and Homelander have a lot in common. Then even though it's been a long time since I've been in an actual cash machine, if you haven't tried it, they are a lot of fun. He cures Space Beth, and they take Gronflemite armor and weapons and pay off the Birdperson references with him and his daughter coming because it's supposed to be daddy-daughter work day. Dan Harmon still voicing the Birdperson character. There's a couple quick bits here with the two of them catching up too, where he says they need to take Gene off of their group text. Gene is Rick's neighbor that they clown on every single season. There are a couple references to them both trying to be good fathers, implying that they've both been having difficulty with their daughters recently. They reveal a hulked out version of the super soldier bugs controlled by the Doctor, more Marvel references. Him telling it to smash is also a Hulk Avengers reference, like Hulk smash. Whether or not they intended it this way, there are actually a couple different layers to this reference too, like it's a little more complex. The Super Soldier Serum in the Marvel Universe was part of the Weapons Plus program. Hulk's initial gamma accident that turned him into the Hulk was part of an experiment that he was doing for the Weapons Plus program as an evolution of the Super Soldier Serum program. This whole episode uses the Super Soldier Serum program as a MacGuffin. So the idea is that in the Marvel Universe, Hulk is one of the Weapons Plus like Captain America, who himself is a super soldier. They wind up defeating them, then Bug-Ann comes on to Rick again, and their ally Gromflemite takes over the government with a new queen, paying off the Valkyrie movie reference.
More drugs?
Yes, please.
They wind up using the post-credit scene to pay off the Cisco bit, revealing that he is in fact a real Gromflemite, like Rick didn't just make him up for the purposes of the bit, explaining why he wasn't around to help them. They give him a whole backstory drama with the drug problem, his relationship with Sandy, his girlfriend here, like massive amount of character work packed into a couple of seconds. They've actually done stuff like this in previous Rick and Morty episodes where like somebody will seem like a small nothing kind of side character, but they'll give him a whole bunch of character development, like, oh, he has clearly a bunch of big story going on separately from what the main plot of the episode is. But overall, it was a pretty decent Space Beth episode. Great to see Birdperson come back too. Always like it when he comes back on the show. My assumption is that because Space Beth is such a big part of the intro and a bunch of different scenes, that she will be in multiple episodes this season as well. And because of that big Birdperson surprise, let me know which other characters you want to see them cameo this season. If there's any other Easter eggs or references that you spotted during the episode that I didn't talk about in the video, just write them below in the comments, and my full episode 3 video will post next week after they release it. Be sure to enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss that. There were a bunch of trailers that also dropped for different things the last couple of days too, so I'll do a Boys Gen V Season 2 trailer next, and there was a brand new Peacemaker Season 2 trailer, and a new Fantastic Four trailer video, so I'll try to get all that stuff out as quickly as possible. Everybody click here for my Rick and Morty Episode 1 video from this season, and click here for my brand new Stranger Things Season 5 trailer video. Thank you so much.